Great. Recording is started. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the Divi Salt Lake City Meetup. My name is Dustin, for those of you who don't know me, but I think everyone here today does. Today, I wanted to talk about image optimization as it relates to basically any website, but we're going to show you how to do that with WordPress here, and some techniques on getting your images optimized before and after you upload them. So just a quick thing that happens. So what usually happens is I'll get a client, they'll come and ask me, they'll say, hey, my website is loading really slow. And the first thing I'm going to look at is in their media library is their images, and if they are really big. And when I say really big, like a megabyte or bigger, because that will really burden the website in loading, because it's not just the image that has to load, it's all the other code that has to load with it. So a web page, it takes time, and images will often hold up the loading process, and everything just seems really slow. So you could pay for really expensive hosting, but if you're not optimizing your images or even just your website generally, your website will just feel really sluggish.
Does the number of images you have in your library matter?
So let's clarify what you just said. So in the library, no, but on the page, yes. Okay. The more images that you have on a page, the more it has to load, like the heavier it's going to be, the more data it has to be processed, right? So yes, which is even more of a reason why we want to optimize our images for our website, because we don't want an image on a page. We want maybe a lot of images to really visually describe what we're offering or what we're selling, right? And so if we can optimize and make them as small as possible, then we're in a better position to have more images on the page and load even faster. Okay. So that's the premise of why we're talking about this. It's the number one reason why a website will load slow, but it's not the only reason. Okay. It's the number one reason. It's probably one of the easiest things that we could fix right out of the gate. But there's several things that can contribute to a slow website, but this is one of the biggest ones that can do that. So any questions with that so far? I'm going to share my screen to kind of dive into some of this.
Hey, Dustin, while you're pulling that up.
Yeah.
So I had this problem, you might remember, and you taught me to make my images smaller before I put them in. I have wanted to go back and optimize some images that are already there because I'm not sure how big they are. And I uploaded them when they were big, and then I made them smaller and uploaded them. And I haven't found a way to easily tell which image I use, the big one or the little one.
Great question. So that's a great segue actually into how we identify right away what we're doing, what we have, and ways around it. So from our WordPress dashboard, if you go to media, this is our media library. And when we click on an image, it brings up our attachment details screen, and it tells us our file size right here in our details. So we can see this is 38 kilobytes. That's a great size for an image. And if we're uploading replacement images, so let's say we had a really big one, we optimized and made it smaller, I would suggest renaming it so that when we are in the media library, we can click on either one and we could see like, oh, this is smaller, has that name, things like that. And then just manually switch them out.
I can tell which one is which in the library, but if I go to an image that's being used on my website, I don't know which one of those images I am using.
Yeah,
So should I just like delete it and replace it with the one that I know is smaller?
that's the sure way, of course, right? Another way is from the front end of the website here. If you right click and then go to your inspect tools, right? It's going to be the last option. So right click and inspect on the image itself. Okay. And you should see what we call our developer console show up, our inspect tools. And we want to be on the elements tab. And this wording is going to be pretty much the same from browser to browser. So elements, and what we're looking for is the HTML structure specifically for the website. And here we can see our image tag. It says IMG here. It's highlighted here on my screen. I don't know if you guys, I'll make this a little bigger. Can you see this okay? So highlighted image, and then it says source equals, and then it gives us a URL, okay? This is the URL that we're looking for to know what the file name is, basically. So if you uploaded a new image that has a new file name, or you even put the dimensions of that file in there, you would see that show up in our URL. These are externals, so I wonder if I have even an image in the library for this layout. But anyways, this is how you would know without uploading or manually replacing everything. If you're just curious what image is there, just inspect it, and then you just look for the file name, which will be at the end of the URL string.
And can you rename the files once they're in the library?
No. You can if you use another plugin, but
Okay.
no. Out of the box, you cannot rename a file. So like here in our metadata right here, file name, you see how it's just like it's locked in? Because it's locked in.
Okay.
So we would have to use a plugin to rename it. The risk with that, though, okay, maybe even if you did download a plugin that allowed you to rename the file name, is it would break your images on your website.
Oh, sure. Of course it would.
Yep, because it's looking specifically for the file name to load the page. So if you change it, it'll think it's lost, it's broken. And so if you want to know, just break your website and then go replace images. So
So Dustin, based on what you just showed us, going
Uh-huh.
into inspect and looking at the element and the HTML.
Yep.
If they were called image 1, image 2, for example,
Uh-huh.
then we would have to associate it in the back end as which one of those is which, right?
Yes.
Because it's not going to tell us the size or whatever unless we put the size in the name of the file. The
Correct.
image. Okay.
Yep. Exactly. And that just kind of brings up a point of how to manage your media library. Here, there's no folders, there's no categories, like there's nothing here to easily find an image or organize anything. But if you are really good at naming your image files, whether it's describes the image, it's the size, it's whatever, then you can just search in the search field for media. So like on Kim's website, we have a lot of logos on there. And so if I want to see all the logos that are in the media library, all I have to do is search for logo here, and it's going to filter out everything else and just show me all images with the file name that have logo in it. And so, yes, I would say be very diligent with how you name images that you upload, because down the road, it will probably help you out quite a bit in just finding them here and knowing what you've uploaded onto the page. So file naming, big deal there. So yeah, great questions. Cool. So bringing it back. So that's how we figure out what images we have, their file size. Okay. My recommendation to everyone is that you have to optimize your images before you upload them to the website. Okay. There are ways that we can do it after the fact, but they can only go so far. Okay. So I always recommend we optimize before. And what optimizing means is that we crop the image to fit our content area of the website. And then we reduce the size so that the file size is as small as possible. So we don't need an image from like our cell phones or a DSLR camera that have thousands of pixels in that image on our website, because we're never going to need all of that data. Okay, so just by reducing the number of pixels, we'll make the file size smaller that way. And then using an optimizer tool will help reduce it even more, which is great. So to that end, let's first talk about how do we know what number of pixels we need for our website. Okay. And this is arbitrary. These are just like standards that I've come up with because consistency tends to rule over everything else because we want things to look good. So for an image that goes like edge to edge, I don't have one on this page, but like from one edge of the browser to the other, okay, I will do 1920 pixels, so 1920 pixels wide for the longest edge of that photo. And that will pretty much guarantee that image will look good for all desktop screens, okay? Here's a website. It's really simple. It's howbigismybrowser.com. What we're looking at right now is 1,833 pixels wide. Okay, so that image, our edge-to-edge image of 1920, is more than capable of looking good on a browser screen this big. And this is pretty big. I'm on a big, like 27-inch monitor right now, and it's filling most of the screen. So just to give you an idea of why we picked that number, right? We want it to scale pretty well and still look good. And images can always scale smaller. So on laptop screens, it'll still look good, but we want something that can look good on large desktop screens as well. Okay. So there's that. And then for content with images, I typically will just go with like, it kind of depends, but most of the time, 1080 pixels for just a standard image that's within our content area. Okay. And that's because our content area really isn't ever going to expand larger than that. This layout right here that we're looking at is wider than that. And I can probably actually tell you that. This is 1,400 pixels wide. So if we want an image to look good here, we wouldn't want to size it all the way down to 1080. We would probably size it to 1,400 because we want to sit in this space here.
Are you using that plugin then to see that the size?
This is the developer console.
Okay.
So I right clicked on it, and then when I hover over or have it click on the element here, it tells me you can see in the top left corner it says image, and then it says 1,400 by 777.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, there's also browser extensions that would show you the same thing, but this didn't require anything to be installed. It tells me right here. So so that's one way to figure it out. Okay. So just be conscious of that, of resizing it to fit the space. And sometimes as we get down to like tablets or phones, the images are still too big for mobile to load efficiently. And so we might have to upload an even smaller one to replace on that. Okay. So something to just keep in mind there. And I'll show you a couple of benchmarking tools that will help us understand better if we need to take action with a certain image or not. Okay. So that's how we identify our image size, what we're going to crop it to, or any of that. Okay. Is where is it going to go on the page? And then be very deliberate in optimizing specifically for that. We don't need a universal type image per se, unless you're going to reuse it over and over, but that looks lazy to have the same image appear over and over. So just crop it, be very purposeful with it, and you should be good to go. Okay. Now, any questions about that? We're going to move on to how to optimize before we upload. Okay. All right. So to optimize before we upload, you can use whatever tool you want that you're familiar with, but imageresizer.com is free. They've got all kinds of ads on here to pay for their time putting the site together, but it is really, really easy. Okay. So you just select your image from your computer. We'll use one that I've got just sitting around here. Okay. So this is an image that was asked to be put on a website. Already it's telling me that it's 4,500 pixels wide, which is far wider than we need for our website. Okay. So I can go with our baseline that we already set of like 1080, and tells me that the height will be 720. So this tells me that I don't probably really need to crop it for most situations. This is probably just fine. But if I did, so let's say I wanted it to be square, I could change it from the aspect ratio from freeform to square, or widescreen 16:9 ratio. This one that the image that we're looking at right now, this is a 3:2 ratio. This is the ratio that comes out of DSLR cameras. The 4:3, this is what comes out of iPhones. Okay. So just some comparison there for you. But if we did the 3:2 and we wanted this a bit tighter, we didn't want all the extra space around them, so we could crop it and then just hit the crop button. Okay. Now we have to go back to resize, put back in our 1080 that we want, and then save as. This is where we're going to select our file format. An image like this that has no transparencies at all is going to be a JPEG. Okay, this is just going to help with our compression ratio even more. If we do have transparencies, such as like a logo file, that's not going to compress as neatly as a JPEG will. So always convert to a JPEG if you can. It'll give you the best compression ratio. And then just hit resize image. And it's going to take us from a 3.12 megabyte file down to a 280 kilobyte file. So this is great. My preference, and when I'm really happy with an image file size, is if we're below 500 kilobytes. Okay. I'm not going to force it to be under 500 kilobytes, because at the same time I want the image to look good. If I force it to have a small file size, that's when we're going to start to see a lot of pixelation happening, and it just looks grainy and nobody likes it. And they're like, what's wrong with this? Well, it's because we probably compressed it too far, or we had a really small image and we try to make it really big. Okay, those are the two reasons we're going to see a terrible quality image. Is it's either too small, we try to make it big, or we compress it really beyond too far. Okay. And it started to remove data from our photo. Okay, so we've downloaded that. We've got that. And now we can go to our media library and we can upload this. Okay, so 280 kilobytes, this is what we saw. And for all intents and purposes, we should be happy with this, right? We already did the effort to optimize our image before we uploaded it, okay? However, there's probably still a little bit more that could be eked out of it, but I personally do not want to spend the time to find that balance, right? So what I like to include on all my websites that I manage is you can find it here in the WordPress repository, and it's called Imagify. And it's the first option here. These will always switch around on the featured page, but you can just search it. Okay, Imagify. So we'll install that. Now, Imagify does have like a free tier to it, but you are limited in what you can do from day to day, how many it'll optimize, things like that. But you can pay for data processing. And I can show you that pricing here. So $20, 20 megabytes a month, that's not a whole lot of images to do. Or you could do like $10 a month, do unlimited. You can optimize your entire library and then you could cancel it. Okay. But if you are uploading all the time, then I would just say it's worth paying the $100 a year. And just every time an image is uploaded, it's processed. Okay. And that is what I pay for because it's a thing. So I'm just going to grab my API key here real quick so that we can show you this. So I have my API key. I'm going to paste that in there. Great. And now we're going to go to settings. And a lot of this is already pre-selected, right? So auto optimize images on upload. So with every new image at this point moving forward is going to get optimized to an extent using this plugin. Okay. Anything that it does optimize, it's going to create a backup. So if the plugin is removed or deleted, there's always going to be a fallback to what we just uploaded. Okay. Lossless compression, we don't enable that. NextGen image format. This, if we're in PageSpeed Insights, and we'll jump over there here in a second, but all of our benchmarking tools like Google's PageSpeed Insights is going to suggest that images be uploaded in one of these new NextGen formats, AVIF or WebP. Okay. WebP is a lot more common. AVIF is new. It's a new kid on the block, so it's not as supported by browsers quite yet, but it is gaining traction. Okay. So it even says right here, use WebP for high compatibility, AVIF for superior compression. Okay, so if you're having issues with images just still being too large, you can experiment with AVIF. But we'll just leave it for WebP. But we do have to enable this option to convert our images and display them in this new format. Okay, and then we'll just use the default settings here. Okay, we'll change that real quick. And pretty much everything here is good to go. So I'm going to click Save and go to Bulk Optimizer. Okay. Now, this is, optimize your media files. I do have the option to select like my theme files and whatnot, but really it's just my media library that is going to be my biggest troublemaker here. So nothing really I need to do, but Imagify them all. And it's going to start the optimization process. And this will run in the background. So you don't have to sit here and wait for all of your images to optimize. It'll just do it in the background while you're doing other things. And you can come back and check on its progress. Okay. So we'll do that here in a little bit. And we can just kind of show you what it actually finds from our original file sizes to our optimized size. And I'll show you a couple other websites too that we're doing. Okay. So just to recap really quick here. So we talked about how to identify large files in our media library, how to then identify our pixel size for our images, depending on where we're going to place it, how to optimize before upload using a service like Image Resizer. You can use Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever you're comfortable with. And you can then optimize the images further after upload using services like Imagify. Okay, there are others like Smush, Short Pixel. So those are other options that do the exact same thing. I use Imagify because it works with WP Rocket, which is our other optimization tool to help the website load faster. It's made by the same people. So compatibility is vital to me and more important. So WP Rocket and Imagify, I have no problems with. Okay.
So Imagify is for optimizing after you've optimized. I mean, you've optimized before you upload it. It's just doing additional optimization because you've chosen the size you want, the width and such. Then it's just doing additional level of optimization. Okay.
Yes. And so you remind me of something with your comment there. So what Imagify is doing is it's compressing our images more. It's not going to take a 4,500 pixel image and resize it to 1920 or 1080, right? It's not going to do that for you at all. It's just trying to try and compress it so that it can load faster. That's all it can do. So it's not going to do the rest, but you can do that before you upload them to help save you even more. Okay. So yeah, great comment there. Next, I want to talk, how do we benchmark our website so that we know that it is loading quickly and we are meeting certain standards. Okay. So PageSpeed Insights, this is built by Google, and they have their own set of standards that they use to differentiate websites that are essentially talking about the same thing. Okay. They believe that user experience is important, but if you and another competitor have the same content essentially, and theirs loads faster, has a better user experience, they will rank your competitor site above your own because of that thing. So if they need a tiebreaker, this is it. The data you're going to see here at PageSpeed Insights is the tiebreaker. Okay. Core Web Vitals is essential. You want to pass in all of these areas the best that you can. Sometimes it is really hard to pass in all these, but it is a worthy goal. Okay. And then as we scroll down, I should point out, this is mobile. This is just the mobile experience. They do have a desktop experience. Okay. You can even just see, just toggling from desktop, which we have a 97 score here for goactive.com, to mobile, we drop down. And that's just a big reason of they test mobile on slower network speeds because data is just different, cell tower to cell tower, it can be on a slow connection. So they're trying to make sure the internet is fast for even the slow connections. Okay. And we're not passing very well in that area because it's on a slow 4G. But if we were to change this to a desktop connection, we would be in the green, no problem. Anyway, all that to say is under the performance section, they're giving us a list of recommendations of things that we can change to improve the loading time of the website. And I'm not seeing any images in here, but actually let's load our demo site here. I bet those would show up. And while that's loading, I'll bring up another one called gtmetrics.com is another. And this, I think they just changed this to where you have to pay for it, or they might give you like one free run or something. And so you can also run this. I have a personal website here, dustinolsen.com. And what this will show some very similar things, but it also say like properly sized images. So like this is telling me like the picture of me, they're saying it's too big. They think it could be smaller. And so this is an option for me to go and say, okay, can I get it smaller? they think it's a low priority, so maybe I won't worry about it. But if it were high or a critical one, I could give it more attention. Okay. If I go to like our waterfall chart here, I would see like our image here. Here's that image that they highlighted. It's taking 91 milliseconds to load. A much larger image would take a lot more time to load. So all that to say is like we could look at our benchmarking tool and just see what images do we have loading. We got some like SVGs here. You know, are they loading too long? Are they fast enough? And then we would just have to decide what we're happy with, right? For me, I'm not going to worry about any of this because GTmetrix is telling me that my fully loaded time is under a second for this whole page. Okay, which is great. I think everyone's striving for less than 2 seconds to load, right? So fully loaded time. Yeah, if you're in the 3, 4, 8, 10, 20 seconds for your site to load, then we've got a problem. Okay. Let's see. Kim, since you're here, let's do pastepeo.com. So it'll take, so it's going to go get the site, it's going to load it, and then analyze the data for us to take a look at. Okay, it's coming through. Boom. Site's loading in 1.1 seconds, Kim. Congratulations. Okay. See what it has to say. So there are some images being suggested here for optimization. But I mean, again, your site's loading in a second, so probably no need for concern. But yeah, so this is how we can identify. Before we do anything, we can run it through one of these and just see if there are troublemakers. Is there anything loading for a long time before the page is fully loaded? And this would tell us almost exactly what the problem is. Okay. So GTmetrix is one I like. PageSpeed Insights, like I said, is Google's.
And do you find they're comparable if you check it on one and check it on the other?
They're pretty comparable. GTmetrix does rely on some or a good portion of what PageSpeed Insights will spit back. So there's some. I like the way GTmetrix displays their information really well. PageSpeed Insights, I feel like it's just a never-ending goal of trying to achieve something. It's like asking for a parent to say that they're proud of you, and you never hear it. That's PageSpeed Insights to me. And so, okay, so this is our demo site. So it says properly sized images is one of the recommendations here. Okay, and so it's listing out every image that is a problem, that it thinks is a problem. Okay.
Well, you know, it's so easy to say, oh, I'm in a hurry. I've got to get this up right now. I don't have time to resize it. That's a mistake that future me wishes that I had not made.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I probably can't stress that enough. Optimize it first. And if you can find a workflow that is easy, it's not a barrier, right? Of optimize it real quick and then send it to the website. And that's why I like imageresizer.com is I can quickly go to it, upload it, change my pixels, crop it, do whatever, download it again, and then upload it. Like it's just one big process. I don't have to like open Photoshop, wait for it to load, get the image in there, resize it, go through all these different windows. And then when I want to quit, it's going to ask me if I want to save. Like, no, I don't want to save. I already saved it. Just it's the whole process. This I feel like is a lot easier.
I've been doing it in preview, and I have to do a lot of math to get the ratio right. And then when I start looking at the numbers to see, I have to do the math and then get it to be 300 by 120 or whatever, and crop it just right. That image resizer looks like a much easier way to do all that. Yeah,
you should give it a shot. It's simple in nature, and I think that's the point. Is it's simple. It is not Photoshop. If you need something more complex, use Photoshop. But if you just need to change the pixel width, crop it real quick, and be done, I think this is the tool.
And I saw that there were a lot of ratios to choose from. Was there one that was custom?
Yes.
Or can you switch it to pixels or so you're...
Yeah, there are some options in there. So original, custom.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then they've even got some like profiles. So if you're looking to you need something cropped specifically for a Facebook post or an Instagram ad or something like that.
LinkedIn on there.
I think
LinkedIn does a pretty good job of resizing.
Yeah. So, but this also tells you exactly what you're looking for. So if you have to go rework the image somewhere else to then get it into here, you at least know your dimensions too. So
we use industry newsletters, and that has its own protocol, and you've got to match it or it looks bad. So
yeah.
Dustin, when we're adding blogs, the photos that are provided for those blogs, have they been optimized before they've been put into our software?
No, typically not. Depends. Sometimes for you, Ellen, I will optimize them before I upload them. But typically, no. This is the process that should happen with the images. For my preference working with clients, and rather than explain the nuances of image optimization, just send me your high-res photo. I will optimize it. And if it doesn't look good after I do all that, I have the high-res version to work with until it does look good. So
should those be being optimized? If they're not being optimized when they're put into ClickUp, should they be?
Yep. Before they're uploaded to any website, they should be optimized.
Hey, we'll talk.
Okay. Yeah. So that's that's my demo, you guys. Took about a little over a half hour to get through all that. So yeah, how to identify, crop, optimize before upload, optimize after upload, how to benchmark your website using a couple different tools to see if there's any other areas. And again, this is page specific. These tools are only benchmarking that page. It's not your whole website. Okay, this score that we're seeing here isn't for the whole website. It's just for this page.
So it's just my home page that loaded quickly.
Just the home page that loaded quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot on it.
Yeah.
Oh, it does have logos at the bottom.
Yeah, I think you got a lot going on with your homepage. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we filter this out, this is all your images on here, like 64.
Yeah.
So you got a lot going on. So yeah, any questions about any of this process or anything I could show you again?
So not only optimize, but be smart about your file naming before you upload. Both things, right?
Yep. That's my pro tip for you in working with the media library is smart naming conventions for your file names will save you trying to find an image later on.
If you save files already as WebP, do you think it's still beneficial to use the Magify plugin?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Do you
Yep.
think it's not worth taking that extra step to save them as WebP before, if the Magify is already going to convert to WebP?
It'll be personal opinion at this point. For me, if I save it as a JPEG, it guarantees that I could use it somewhere else outside of WordPress or the website, right? Because a lot of things aren't going to be able to read that image or whatever, as a WebP format. It might have issues with it. So if I have a library of JPEGs, great. I can reuse them, do whatever. And then just let the plugin do the conversion. So, and even as we saw, it's WebP is one version, but we've got AVIF, which is another version that has better compression, right? So if I wanted to switch one day for better compression, I could just use the plugin and do that, but I still have all my JPEGs instead of obsolete WebP for versions, So that's my opinion on it. I don't think there's anything wrong by converting directly to WebP and uploading that. That's totally fine. I think you're just fine doing that. But yeah, still use a Magify to optimize. So, because now that we're back here, I ran the optimizer. We had original 36 megabytes for file size, and it compressed at 54%, right? So whatever's loading on the site is now 50% smaller. So it'll load faster. Okay. Yeah.
Do you know if using a CDN, if that affects anything to do with the optimization of the images?
CDN is not going to optimize your images or convert them, but a CDN will definitely help your website load faster from a geographical standpoint. Because a CDN, what that stands for is a content delivery network, and it is designed to take snapshots of your website and place them on servers all around the world. And someone in another country trying to access a server here in the United States will be able to see the website faster because it's not trying to connect so far away, right? So that's what a CDN does. And CDNs are getting smarter, more efficient, better, more helpful, to where they do more than just deliver content to a broad network of servers. But yeah, at their core, their job is not to optimize your images or to convert them or any of that. So again, it's kind of like the same process that we're going through, optimizing before upload and then optimizing after, right? If a CDN does do anything with images, we should help them out so that they can do whatever it is they're offering just a little bit better. So yeah, great question, Donna. Any others?
That was great,
Cool. Thanks.
especially since I had a good result on my report card. That's largely because of you.
I'm happy to help. Yeah, so that's what I got for you guys. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer them, of course. And for next month, our next meetup, we're actually going to combine with Divi Chicago, and it's actually going to be a broad Divi community meetup. We're doing this is our 4th year. It's the Black Friday Bonanza, and we're inviting a bunch of plugin developers and other prominent Divi community members to kind of present and talk about what they've got going on and all that. So you'll probably see that show up in the Meetup network soon, so you can RSVP if you're interested. So that's what we're doing next month.
Marvelous.
Will
Great.
that come for subscribe to the Elegant Themes Up subscription?
Yeah, if you're subscribed to updates, definitely like through my Meetup, you'll definitely get a notification for it for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So yeah, cool. Okay, guys. Well, I guess we'll end just a little bit early before the hour. But if you have questions, I'm happy to stay and answer them. But otherwise, go have your evening. Go enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Donna. Thanks, Kim.
So
Appreciate
Dustin,
you
can you
here.
stay on for a sec, for a minute?
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. Good to meet you, Kim.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording really quick.